myself, I would have been dead by now. I was sure of it, either by self-hatred or by the hand of someone who hated someone they couldn't understand. I was determined not to allow hate and fear to run my life. My story was mine. Everyone, including Jake, had their own. I wasn't sure I wanted to know his, but I could let go of the anger, disappointment, and pain he'd caused years ago. It was over and done. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came. I tried again and let out a whoosh of surprise when I found myself crushed against Jake's hard body in a strong, fierce embrace. I melted into him instinctively, smelling his clean, soapy scent and a hint of musky cologne. He felt solid and strong. I pushed back when I caught a glimpse of that tattoo peeking out under his t-shirt. The ink was a sexy surprise, but I didn't want to start riding against him in a sudden fit of lust brought on in a moment of weakness. Jake gave me a small smile and let go.
Think we could be friends? It's been years, Bran. I'm not asking for us to go back in time, but it would be cool to get to know you again.
Why? I'm not trying to be difficult, but I don't see why.
Lots of reasons. But the most important one is...
What? I furrowed my brow at his playful tone. What was he up to?
Mac likes you.
I should have known. Mac, the man is using your considerable charm to hunt down a second-string dog-sitter. Mac's ears lifted at the sound of his name, but he didn't sense any treats coming his way, so he sighed and lay down.
You can be first string, Jake offered jokingly.
Ha ha, I'm touched.
I was kidding. I feel like running into you again is a sign of some sort. Don't laugh. I know that sounds hokey, but I can't help thinking.
Don't think too hard. Look, I'm happy to help you out with Mac, but as far as you and I are concerned, I shrugged. I honestly had no idea how to continue. I wasn't sure it was wise to let him be part of my present.
Will you have dinner with me? Friday night, I'm off, and wait! I can tell you want to say no, but let me at least thank you for taking care of Mac. Please, no strings attached, I promise.
He held his hands up in surrender. His eyes twinkled with a humor that overrode the strange current between us. I eyed him warily before answering. Okay. Jake let out a triumphant whoop that startled Mac and made me chuckle in spite of myself.
Great! You choose where. I'm still trying to figure this town out. Does 7 work? I'll pick you up here. Or is the store better for you?
I was charmed by his nervous excitement. He exuded an almost manic energy like a kid in a candy shop. I gave him a comical, "you're crazy" look before tackling his barrage of questions. I'll think about the restaurant and make a reservation for 7:30. You can come here at 7 to pick me up. We can grab a drink at the bar for early. Sound good?
Great. Sounds great.
What about Mac?
Well, he can't come.
I chuckled at his deadpan expression. If we chose a place with outdoor seating, he could. I thought you didn't want to leave him.
I don't, but are you really okay with that? It probably limits choices, and
people love dogs in WeHo. We can find a fabulous place to eat where a well-behaved lab can sit outdoors. It's spring, and the weather is gorgeous. We may as well take advantage, right?
Right.
He gave me a searching look, followed by a bright grin.
We'll see you Friday, then. Bye, Bran.
He swooped forward and kissed my cheek quickly before calling his dog. I walked them to the door and watched as they walked down the path toward a shiny white SUV. The memory of my multiple attempts the night before to get Mac in my Mini Cooper had me wondering how Jake managed to get him in a much larger vehicle. I stood in the doorway with my arms crossed and noted with childish satisfaction the way Mac pulled back on his leash as though indicating he was not interested in a ride. Jake threw something from his pocket into the car, and a flourish of his arm seemed to indicate he should retrieve it. Mac scrambled after what I guessed was a treat. Jake gave the dog a push before quickly taking his place behind the wheel and closing the door. He turned to look back at me with a sheepish grin and a wave before driving away. So, I had figured it out, I thought with satisfaction. I was better with dogs than I credited myself. Ex-boyfriends were another matter. What was I doing? Three. The rest of the week passed quickly. I divided my time going through the remaining new inventory, redecorating the store, and waiting on customers. Business was booming. The warmer temperatures seemed to bring out shoppers anxious to celebrate spring and brighten their homes with pillows and knickknacks appropriate to the new season. And thankfully most of them were willing to open their wallets. It was times like this I loved retail. I was too busy to think about my upcoming dinner with Jake. Or maybe I'd become a master at compartmentalizing things that made me uncomfortable. I'd agreed to dinner in a moment of weakness. A hot man in my kitchen with his loyal dog at his feet was a hard combination to resist. 2 days later, I was a little angry with myself for going against my personal edict. I clung to the anger, knowing it kept me from feeling nervous. Nothing was going to happen. This was not a date, nor was there any chance of rekindling a long-dead romance. It was a thank you dinner, nothing more. My phone buzzed in my back pocket as I finished ringing up a large sale. I waved a cheery goodbye at my customer before pulling my cell out. It was a text message from Luke. "We're in LA today. Want to come by for dinner?" "Can't. Going out tonight." "Date?" "No, going with Jake. Long story. Let's talk later?" I set my phone on the counter near the register and waited 1, 2. I rolled my eyes when it rang a second later. "You're doing what?" Luke's incredulous tone made me smile. "It's a harmless thank you for watching Mac. No big deal." "What happened to your personal commandment? The past shall not be revisited? What's going on?" "Nothing is going on. Don't worry. I still feel the same, but..." "But what? Bran, if you want a dog, go get one of your own. Don't borrow your ex's. This has trouble Lukey, I know this is a tad outside the norm, and I'll even admit he caught me in a moment of weakness, but..." Luke gasped dramatically. "What kind of moment of weakness?" "Not the kind your dirty mind is imagining," I assured him. "I was tired, and, yeah, I have a soft spot for the dog, so..." "There's something you aren't telling me. Spill it." I stared into the phone for a second. Since Luke had met Michael, he'd reclaimed his confidence and spirited sense of righteousness. It was a beautiful thing to see. However, it threw me off guard every once in a while. I'd forgotten how tenacious he could be. He apologized. I picked up the lip balm next to the register and liberally coated my lips. "What?" I gulped like a kid caught with his hand in a cookie jar. I know. Brandon, you're worrying me. Since when would I... It must be the dog. I admit this is out of the ordinary. I'll let him buy me dinner, and that will be that. Don't worry." "Really? A dinner is going to erase what he did, or better yet, what he didn't do all those years ago?" "No, of course not. But at some point, I have to let go. Don't you think? It's an odd set of circumstances, and I don't have any real explanation." I shrugged helplessly, though Luke couldn't see the gesture through the phone. I didn't want to start overanalyzing now. I'd been doing a great job keeping busy enough to ignore any flashing red warning signs. "I'm coming to the store tomorrow. Can you take a break for lunch?" "Well, it's been very busy, and..." "Perfect. See you tomorrow," he cheerfully exclaimed before hanging up on me. Damn it. Best friends were a blessing and a curse. But Luke was right to be concerned. I was acting out of character by doing things like dog-sitting and having dinner with an ex. Truthfully, I'd known I was out of whack before Mac and Jake came into the picture. Was I sadder about Trevor's departure than I acknowledged? Or was I having a late quarter-life crisis? I pasted a smile on my face as a customer approached with purchases in hand. Whatever, it was one dinner. I'd go because I said I would, but that was it. John Legend's soulful, smooth voice serenaded me as I finished primping later that night. I glanced in the full-length mirror in my bedroom and decided the tight-fitted designer jeans and floral-printed button-down shirt looked good. Real good. I chuckled at my narcissistic streak as I went to answer my front door when I heard a soft knock.
Hey.
Jake's smile was sweetly contagious, and damn, he cleaned up nicely. He was dressed similar to me in jeans and a light blue Oxford shirt that complemented his eyes beautifully. His style was a bit more conservative than mine, but it worked for him. Hi. I stepped back to invite him inside. I'm ready. I made a reservation at the Garden. Is Mac waiting in the car? I requested an outdoor table and made sure they were fine with a very well-behaved Pat, but
I left him at home. It's just us tonight.
He turned to go to his SUV before I could respond. Oh, shoot. Mac was a deal changer, possibly a deal breaker. I furrowed my brow as I followed him. I don't know if... Jake opened the passenger door and held it for me, his engaging smile still in place.
We can go to my apartment later to say hi if you'd like, but restaurants aren't really Mac's thing. He's a terrible beggar.
He winked and motioned me to hurry along. When he was behind the wheel, I turned to face him. You tricked me.
How so? And where am I going?
It's on Beverly Boulevard. Turn left on La Cienega. And you know what I mean.
You mean I know where La Cienega is? Sure, I've only lived here for a few months, but I'm beginning to get the lay of the land.
What does that have to do with anything? You tricked me. You said Mac was coming.
I talked him out of it. Sorry.
He stopped at a red light and glanced at me, his blue eyes twinkling with humor.
Will you still have dinner with me?
I would have chosen someplace a lot more expensive if I'd known. I grumbled, only half kidding. Jake chuckled, looking decidedly nonplussed. I sighed and leaned forward to play with the volume on his car radio. If I was stuck without canine diversion, I had to think of other ways to occupy myself. I found a song I liked and hummed along, stopping to give directions or point out places of interest along the way. Anything to keep my mind off the fact this was beginning to feel like a date. The Garden was a cute bistro with a large patio area. There was a pretty stone fireplace situated against an ivy-covered wall, and fairy lights were strung in a crisscross fashion over the linen cloth tables. People didn't generally bring their pets to restaurants like this, but I'd pleaded with the owner, who was a friend and client of mine, and had requested a somewhat private corner table so Mac's presence wouldn't distract other diners. Without a dog, it spelled romantic table for two. Great. I sipped the ice water the server poured and checked out the wine selection. Red or white, I didn't care. I just needed a glass fast.
Mind if I order a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon for us?
Jake set the wine menu aside and peered across the tiny table at me. There was a mini succulent plant and a single votive between us, which wouldn't leave much room for two plates when dinner arrived. Sure, that's fine. Once our wine order was placed and the waiter had recited the evening specialties, we quietly perused the menu. I wasn't one to let uncomfortable silences linger, but I was at a loss. I hadn't planned on dining with Jake Wesley by candlelight tonight. I'd counted on that damn dog to keep things casual and lighthearted. When the waiter returned with the bottle Jake ordered, I watched as he swirled, sniffed, and tasted before declaring the wine worthy. I rolled my eyes once my glass was full. Jake laughed and held his up in a toast.
Wine should be taken seriously. There's nothing worse than drinking crap you pay a lot of money for. Cheers.
He clinked his glass against mine and took a long sip. An almost blissful expression crossed his face, indicating the wine he'd ordered was indeed not crap. I took a small